Currently, there are different pieces of legislation to address the issue of workers' compensation. Well, this has resulted in people with serious injury, particularly in the mining sector, being lowly compensated. And that's why the government has now launched a workshop to integrate occupational compensation laws in the country.
A moment of silence for the miners who perished at the Impala Platinum mine on Friday. The meeting included mainly mining sector players who know all too well the dangers of going to work. Mining houses, trade unions and government and other stakeholders were present. The plan to overhaul the current occupational compensation system.
We envisage a social protection system for all workers in the country that will ensure that, one, we invest a lot of resources in prevention, and that people are paid equitably and fairly and for contracting all these diseases. In other words, we put a disincentive for people to be infected by all this, by prevention measures, where we've got to put resources, but also resources to pay workers as and when they get these contracted to these injuries and diseases. But most of all, we also recognize that we've got a huge backlog of legacy problems. So we've got to ring fence this process as we launch the new, to ensure that we've got enough resources to deal with the past. That's what we are trying to do. So, but we also take in some wisdom from workshop participants to take this matter forward.
Mine unions have welcomed the government's initiative, arguing the current compensation system has often resulted in inequitable outcomes for injured workers.
We can cite one example of the case that we had as National Union of Mine Workers, whereby we had a case of Mr. Mangai, who was challenging Anglo Gold in terms of the compensation that was paid to him as a result of exposure, where you have got severe TB case. He was compensated 16,000 rand. After suffering so much, there's a judgment on that case. The judgment is indicating that if he was compensated under COIDA, he would have received far better compensation compared to on what he received under ODIMA, which is Occupational Disease and Injuries Act, which is ODIMA. That is why we say that there have been these discrepancies. Mine workers treated totally differently from other workers with this act.
While there was a strong mining sector presence, the government wants to overhaul legislation to ensure that regardless of the sector, workers are fairly and equitably compensated when they meet with an accident in the workplace. The workshop continues until tomorrow. Nompumelelo Sisiba, SABC News, Johannesburg.